I have a little bit of new reporting from NBC News right now. Multiple senior U.S. law enforcement officials briefed by authorities in the U.K. Now tell NBC News that the forensic evidence at the scene, including a body found at the blast site, indicates that this was a suicide attack. Brief aside on that, we were just speaking with Malcolm Nance about that earlier, somebody who has, in his work in the military and intelligence, has been physically on scene at more than one suicide bombing. One of the things he was describing to us, which we have heard from other people as well, is that when there is a suicide bomber, more often than not, the forensic detailing of the scene will also include telltale damage to one body, the bomber's body, that is very different than the type of carnage he's able to inflict on others. And it's just a graphic consequence of the physics of wearing a bomb. But we're told that forensic evidence at the scene, including a body found at the blast site, indicates that this was a suicide attack. In addition, a senior U.S. law enforcement official briefed on the British investigation says they believe they have tentatively identified the bomber. Now, that said, law enforcement officials are not providing any additional information on the identity of the bomber. But again, this is U.S. officials telling NBC News this, who have been briefed by UK authorities. The indications are that they may have an identification for this alleged suicide bomber, but that's as far as we can go right now. I want to bring into the conversation now Rukmini Callimachi, his New York Times correspondent who focuses on Al-Qaeda and ISIS. Rukmini, thank you for coming in.
My pleasure.
It is obviously early for us to be getting correct details of this, let alone any understanding of who might have caused this. Is there anything that you're able to see or report on in sort of terrorist circles online in terms of claiming responsibility?
Well, the obvious question is this the Islamic State or is this Al-Qaeda? Neither group at this point has claimed this attack, and what we know from past attacks is that it takes them several hours, sometimes up to a day, to claim them. If the reporting is correct, and indeed this was a suicide bomber, and he is now dead, and he happens to be from one of these two groups, we will expect a claim of responsibility. We've seen in the past that when the attacker is still at large, ISIS will not claim it. And the speculation around that is that they don't want to complicate that person's investigation. But if the reporting is correct and this person is now dead, then that clears the path for that. One question that I have is, what is the type of explosive that was used? Al-Qaeda used a variety of explosives in the types of attacks that they've done in Europe. ISIS, by contrast, has been rather predictable. They've used something called TATP, which stands for triacetone triperoxide. It's a peroxide-based explosive, and investigators should know quite quickly, just by testing the residue of the material that is left at the scene, whether this is a peroxide-based explosive. If that is the case, in my mind, it raises the probability that it is ISIS, because in so many attacks, this is the type of signature that they have left, including at the Paris attacks, including the Verviers attack, including the Brussels airport bombing.
Now, let me make sure I understand what you mean there. You're saying that ISIS basically always uses TATP?
In Europe.
In Europe.
In Europe.
Is it also true that other groups other than ISIS don't use that?
Al-Qaeda has used TATP, but they're much more varied. They've used something called PETN, they've used HMTD. These acronyms don't mean much to our viewers, but what it suggests is different compounds and different ways of making them. ISIS seems to have a protocol for this, because we've seen TATP used over and over again in attacks in Western Europe, and there's a good reason for that, which is that triacetone triperoxide is made from acetone and peroxide.
Both very easily obtainable.
Both very easily obtainable. Yeah. Home Depot and the barbershop.
After the TATP attacks that we have seen previously in Europe, have there been any efforts by law enforcement authorities or intelligence authorities there to try to prevent people, or at least alert whenever people buy those things in sufficient quantities to...
That's the problem. You don't need enormous quantities of them. No. And these are things that acetone is used in solvents that we use to clean our homes. Peroxide, you've heard the term peroxide blonde. You know, these are things that are used in hair care products. And that's why this explosive, which is not as powerful as the explosives that they use in Iraq, for example, but that is why it's ideal for use in Europe, because it doesn't set off the trip wires that other types of explosives would.
Rukmini, are we seeing anything, are you seeing anything in terms of cheering? Congratulations.
Yes. Enormous celebration on ISIS channels, disgusting, to watch. They've created a hashtag, Manchester, which is both in English and in Arabic. They're reposting all of the past threats and posters that they've made targeting England. When the Paris attack happened, there was a video that was released by the attackers that showed them in Iraq and Syria, presumably carrying out beheadings and other atrocities. And at the very end, the next target that they announced was the United Kingdom. That was in November of 2015, and of course nothing happened after that. That is the puzzling thing about ISIS and the United Kingdom. A very large number of fighters are from the UK. Jihadi John, the jailer and the executioner of the American hostages, was British. But we have seen far less attacks in Britain than we've seen, for example, in Belgium and France. Even though the numbers of fighters are roughly similar.
It was noted earlier in the show, and actually I should tell you that we are expecting a news conference from the Manchester Police any moment, and so we'll cut to that as soon as that happens. But it was noted earlier in the show, Pete Williams mentioned right at the top of this hour that there is an anniversary here in terms of British attacks, that the Lee Rigby attack, this horrific, unbelievably graphic attack on a British soldier who was beheaded in the middle of a street on camera by attackers who did not try to get away. That was May 22nd, 2013. Does that, I mean, obviously we don't know if that's significant. It might be a coincidence. Does that strike you as a relevant factor to look at here in terms of ascertaining what happened? That's
a universal way in terms of the terror group that we know as ISIS, at least. In 2013, ISIS had not yet declared its caliphate, for example. At that point, Al-Qaeda was really the big dog on the scene. So at this point, counterterrorism officials that I speak to believe that ISIS has a greater capability for carrying out these types of attacks than Al-Qaeda, though we might be surprised. We saw Charlie Hebdo was, of course, Al-Qaeda.
How much does ISIS's situation abroad in its self-proclaimed caliphate in Iraq and Syria, how much does it affect, or in what direction does it affect its ability to project force in Europe, outside of, far outside its bounds of any territory that it controls? Is there a relationship at all?
The narrative that we've heard out of Washington and out of capitals in Europe is that as ISIS's caliphate is shrinking and as they come under pressure in their territory in Iraq and Syria, that they're going to lash out. Now, that sounds like it makes sense. Unfortunately, the data doesn't back it up, because the very first attempted attacks in Europe were by fighters who left Iraq and Syria in December of 2013, long before airstrikes began, almost a year later. There have been so many foiled attacks before then, and in the very declaration of the caliphate, Abu Muhammad al-Adnani, who was then the spokesman of ISIS, in that very declaration spoke about targeting the West. So in my opinion, these two objectives, holding ground, governing a territory, and hitting the West are twin goals of the Islamic State, and I don't believe that there's a relationship between the pressure they're facing now and attempts to strike out.
Rukmini Callimachi, New York Times correspondent who focuses on Al-Qaeda and ISIS. Again, no claims of responsibility here. Police are treating this as a terrorist incident. The working hypothesis is that this was a suicide bomber outside this concert in Manchester. No claims of responsibility yet, but lots of celebrating, as you said, online in the types of chat rooms where those things would happen. Rukmini Callimachi, thank you. Appreciate you being here. Thank you.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.